Hey everybody, welcome back to Stamping School. I love bookshelves, I love cubbies, I love nooks, I love these little display things. This is a new bundle called On Display from Stampin' Up. It is a little time consuming, not gonna lie. You gotta like the littles. You gotta like putting all these little things in here. But I have a few other cards to show you that don't use the bookcase, but it's really cute, isn't it? You can just style it any way that you want. You little doors, and I absolutely love it. Now it's a big bundle. I think it's $56. It's got 26 stamps, and then it has 30 dies, I believe. Yes, 30 dies. So it's a lot of littles. It's a lot of little things, but it's really fun. And I love the cat. So the main piece is this bookcase right here, which cuts out to look like this. And so it cuts everything out with the little feet and the whole thing. And the first thing I wondered was, when all these popped out, do any of them layer? Because I thought that would be really cool to have layering dies for sentiments. And these two layer really well. This one is tiny, but the rest of them are kind of standalone, but they work really great for sentiments too. So you kind of looks like a ticket. You get double duty when you cut this die, and then you get all of these pieces, which I think is kind of cool. The stamp set does have sentiments in it. A birthday for the books. You deserve all the good stuff. Treat your shelf. Hello. You've been on my mind just for you, and you're the best. In addition to all these other guys. So there's this big one, and then there's the topper, which in my opinion can go either way. Like I did it down for this one, and then I did it up for this one. So I think it could go either way. I imagine you could make it sideways, and you could make a kitchen cubby or a hutch this way. I don't know, I didn't try it that way, but you could. Now, all of these dies, so many dies, everything on this side, all these dies are standalone. You don't need the stamp images. And then all of these cut out the stamped images. So there's a lot here. So for instance, there's a two-step cat, and there's a two-step bird cage. 3 birds on one stamp. You can stamp the bird cage, or you could cut it out just with the dies. There's a mirror, and the one that I did, I put a little silver foil in there to make it look like a mirror. There's a globe, 2-part globe that cuts everything out. There's a frame. There are planters. There's canisters. There are books. You can stamp the book and cut them out. There are flowers, a pitcher. I mean, there's so much here. The bottles or the jars, and then the little decanter there. So those are really fun. So there's a lot to play with this. Oh, and these little handles right here, door handles. So like on my card here, I added one here so I didn't have to put anything else there. It's just like a little door that would open. So let me show you a few ways to use them and put it together. Now for this one here, I wanted to make it the bookcase that opened and closed like that, without being like on a full card. This is about 5 by 4, so maybe 4 1/4, so it's still going to go in a regular size envelope. So I thought I would try crumb cake for this one, and this is pecan pie. I thought I'd go a little bit lighter on this one. I cut it out in the crumb cake. It has like a wood grain on it. I don't know if you can see that in the video, but on the back here, if you take your little dimensionals, I did the black ones just so you wouldn't see them as much, and just add them on the largest areas. These are the little minis. It pops it up a little bit, makes it look just a little bit more raised up. I put espresso behind it to see how I liked it. This is tone on tone. This has got pecan pie behind it, and the pecan pie bookcase door. And then for this top, like I said, you could go with it raised like that, or you can do it this way. I'm going to try it raised for this one. Now I'm just going to put a little glue here at the top. That's a little too much glue. Let's put this here. So I think it works either way. Now on this card, I have the back of the bookcase is the pecan pie, which I scored to give it a little bit of interest, and then added another one here so you couldn't see it. On this one, I don't think I need to because it's the crumb cake, but if you wanted to put a second one here, you certainly could to cover that up. And then to make it a card, I cut a piece of 4 inches and then scored it at 1/2 inch, and that is going to give me that little lip that I can glue down and make a little flap. Now if you thought ahead enough, you don't have to put this extra piece on. You could score that and glue that to the back just like that as a full card. Of course, I didn't think ahead on that. I was thinking I was going to make it a crumb cake card, but then at the last minute I ended up making it an espresso card. And then the fun part is really just filling it to anything that you want to put on your shelf. Now because all of these fit, if you want to add like a little sentiment up here, you can in one of the little areas. If you want to, let's see, you can, if you want to add a door, if you want to add the bird cage, it's really just fun, especially if you have all of these ready to go. What I really like doing, instead of getting out 12 different ink pads, I cut them all in white and then I color a lot of them with blends. It just makes it a lot easier for me just to cut them all in white and then decide what color I want to make them, if that makes sense. So you can just color them and then use them to pop in here and there. And like these green leaves, you could cut those in green, but I find it easier just to take my blends, and then you get a little bit of variation too. You can do the light and the dark and give it a little bit more texture and then add them on. You can add your kitty cat, you can add your, you know, all of your little books and parts and pieces. And even on the books, if you look on this one, I colored the books in different colors, which you don't really have to, but it's pretty easy to do with the fine point of your markers, and just, you know, color each individual piece. And it's kind of fun to do. So I prefer that over a whole bunch of different parts and pieces of color cardstock or all these different ink pads. Now, what's nice too on here, all of the plants have these little notches right here, and that is so when you color your pot, or you could cut it out of designer paper or something, you can take your pot and you've got something to glue it to. See, like that. There's like the little one, and then there's the big one that you can put that into. Also, like this little globe here, there's a little teeny, I cut it in silver. That was kind of a bugger to glue on. So you need a really good fine tip glue to be able to put that on there, but it's so cute. And this little guy came out of the frame and I just used it as a riser here. And like I said, with the mirror, I put some foil behind it. And the door is just another piece of cardstock that's popped up with dimensionals, and then put the hinge on it, which I like the hinges too in gold. I think those look really nice if you cut them out in gold. So that's the first thing that I did. It took me, probably took me an hour, just because I was playing around with it and trying to figure out where I wanted them. But then I made another one and it went much quicker. But if you want to do something a little bit simpler with these, let me show you a few other ideas. I took this one right here and I colored. And by the way, if you're stamping, for instance, all of these that are stamped, I've personally found it easier to cut them all in white, ink them up, and then stamp into the white instead of trying to line all the dies up. So even if you ran a whole bunch of them in white and just kept them in the case, I think that would be really easy. And that way you wouldn't have to, you know, have every color of ink pad in the world out, and just as you go along, it would look nice. So in this one, I'm just going to scribble on a little bit of Granny Apple Green. Like I like the different shades, and I like that you don't have to be perfect with the blends. They all look nice. let it dry. This one, I'm gonna add a little bit more of the Cajun Craze in there, right there in the middle. So these two will go together like that, and I'll show you the card I did with this one. So I used that boho paper, and I made a 3.5 by 5, just regular card with white, and did 3.5 by 5 of that boho paper, so it's kind of retro. And then added my arches, which I love these arch dies. Those are still available. I think it's the Last Chance list has the stamp sets for the arches, but it looks like the arch dies might be staying. Pop that up with dimensionals. Now this one, I actually cut it out with the crumb cake cardstock, but either way, these are still colored with the Granny Apple Green. And then the You've Been on My Mind comes in that stamp set. I actually really like this card. And the other one that I did, I made a window with the arches, since while I had the arches out. Now I have a friend that has a little tiger cat like that. And the cat, you stamp it once in a color, and then there's an outline that goes around it that puts all those little tiger stripes on it. So I took the back of the Brush with Beauty. It has this kind of cool petal pink, sort of like a brick washed card. And then I took my arches and I cut one with Pool Party. Stuck that down like that. And then I put the two together and taped them off so that then they're exactly apart all the way around to create this little frame here. And then I thought I really wanted these little windows. So I took just a teeny little bit of glue, and I could have done this before I glued it down, but that's okay. I've got a little room. Okay, trim that off. I did the same thing going across. Really, the little fine tip one is better, but this is what I have in my hand at the moment. There we go. These are 1/8 of an inch. But I like the little, making it look like a little window. There we go. So here's what I cut putting the two dies together to make my molding that goes all the way around. And you know, if you get too much, a lot of people use sponge daubers. You know, I just get a little lazy, but if you just tap off any extra, it seems to work okay. There. Okay. That down, and then a little window ledge. This is just a little 1/2 inch piece of white cardstock. Let's go here and make a little diagonal notch right there. You could pop all this up with dimensionals if you want to, but I feel like it gets enough dimension because of the layers I have underneath here. And then I can just add the cat, put him on with a few dimensionals, add your plant, add your sentiment, and then when you cut this part out with the white, use that one for the inside so that you can have a little something, a little sentiment, and then decorate that on the inside. But I just think these are so fun. There's so much you can do if you don't mind working with the littles. You gotta be able to work with the littles, but I just think they're so much fun. And this die is pretty cool. So thanks for watching. Let me know if you get it and if you play with it. And if you end up buying this bundle from me, I'll send you one of these cards as a sample, as a thank you. And thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. See it, learn it, stamp it.